4 countries that are most impossible to conquer. 1. The United States of America. Any invader of the United States isn't facing just the US military, they're facing all 330 million Americans. As according to statistics, the country has more arms than people, and that is just the ones we know about. Americans are allowed to design their own arms, and many states do not even require registration for the same. Even if a civilian manages to take control of their population, which is a big if, they still have to go through one of the best trained military in the whole world. Then the said invader would have to even hold off the territory to claim it as their own. The country has 4 time zones with 7 different climatic regions, and there are many things to think about, and it is impossible at the most to conquer this country. 2. Russia. This country projects power regionally, but its armed forces are not as great as hyped by Putin. But if anyone does try to invade the country, its legendary toughness can bloom, and even the Russian winter won't help the invader. Invading the country is a terribly difficult thing. Let's take examples from history. When Napoleon invaded in 1812, people of the country took casualties. What really suffered was Russia's towns, cities, farms, and other infrastructure, all of it destroyed by Russians. Yeah, you read that right. They would rather destroy their country than leave it for any invaders. Modern Russians are no different, as when the Nazis invaded in World War II, many Russians welcomed the Germans. The fighting only turned more brutal then, which is why any invader must remember that they are fighting every single Russian, across 11 time zones. 3. Afghanistan. Even though what every successive American would have had you believe for the past 17 years, victory in this country is not just around the corner. This country has a legacy of being the graveyard of empires. Which also includes us, which is the only other superpower to have existed. What makes Afghanistan so difficult to capture and keep is first and foremost, the terrain. It is a bowl of desert which is surrounded by several highest peaks in the entire world. In modern times, the peaks negate the advantage of armors and tanks. US is a viable fighting force in this country because of the logical advantage it holds. The most important reason no one can conquer this country is because any invader has to completely subdue the population. And the entire population is as diverse as it can get. Pashtun, Turkmen, Baloch, Tajik, and Uzbek are just a few of the ethnic groups in the country. And the invader should also take into account their loyalties to extremist groups, as you have to factor in the group and the shadow government. And take notes from history, as defeating those people in pitched battles didn't work, and you can ask the British. Massacring them also didn't work, and you can ask the Soviets. The American nation-building strategy does not look that promising either. 4. India. This country might not have been predicted by many to have made it here. But the country on its own is a very formidable place to invade. To the north and the east lie the harsh Himalayan mountains. And dry deserts roughly make up half of the northwest regions of the country. The southwest of the country is wet and tropical, and it limits the best place to land on an invasion force that is ocean-borne. That is, if an invader can ever land an actual invasion force on the subcontinent. Part of India's major naval strategy is to flood her territorial waters with enough submarines to sink both enemy warships and enemy landing craft while strangling sea lanes of enemy shipping. This tactic has been in place for a long time, since before China's foreign policy went from one of peaceful rise to crouching tiger. Fighting in this country is not a small matter, and any Indian general can tell you that. The height of the Himalayan mountains makes air support impossible at times. As such, their near limitless manpower, religious fervor, and billion-plus population would make them a daunting opponent on any front.